how's it going? So I just called the line, cause I see. Well, now my apologies for using God, because like I wanted to get into high priority queue because it was not there's not a lot of time. Long story short, I just said, okay, I'm gonna put myself as God, because if I'm gonna put myself as God, they're gonna prioritize my call, and that's voila, that's exactly what they did. I mean, it's very easy to predict. So, one sec. Okay, so one thing I noticed about Matt, right, is that he has, in my opinion, right, is inability to hold two conflicting beliefs, right? So he's not. That's why he likes to. If you listen to how he talks, he's like everything is like either true or false, true or false, true or false, yes or no, right? So abstract things like subjective tools is very uncomfortable for him. That's why he's trying to reduce it. That's my opinion. Anyway, I could be wrong, right? Now it doesn't really work in real world because you run into things like how do you measure productivity of a developer, for example. That's one of the things. If you take somebody like this who is trying to reduce, he had a conversation with what's his name, Jordan Peterson, and Jordan Peterson specifically told him you cannot reduce life to a set of propositions because there are a lot of subjective things like art, for example, is one of them, right? I personally struggle to understand art because I like to reduce everything to propositions. But I'm also learned how to hold two conflicting beliefs in the head. Like, for example, productivity of developer cannot be measured effectively. So we use story points, but I mean, don't get me started. That system is not very efficient. So if you take somebody like Matt and try to put him into management position in a company to measure developers, he's going to crash and burn because it's so subjective. He's just going to burn out probably very, very quickly. He'll probably try to figure out how to do it, but we've been trying to do it for centuries now. All right. So that's my opinion. That's why I called. I wanted to poke into this, right? So I needed to have an argument that would poke into this, right? And I basically went with the Schrodinger cat argument. So in Schrodinger, I don't know if you know Schrodinger cat, but in Schrodinger cat experiment, there is a box, there is a cat, and there's an isotope inside the box. And when that isotope breaks, the cat dies. But isotope has no predetermined time when it breaks. So you don't know whether the cat is alive or not. So that's why Schrodinger cat is a very good metaphor for existence of God, I suppose. Because unless you open the box, you can assume that he's alive and dead at the same time. If that makes sense, right? Because you simply don't know when isotope is going to break. It's a completely random event, right? So I went with this logic because I'll tell you why, right? Let's say we take something like God, right? Concept. Well, let me explain to you. Okay, let's take ant farm. I wanted to kind of get to the ant farm, but he just kept rejecting me, but whatever. So we take ant farm, and inside the ant farm, one ant says, hey, I think there is a way to communicate between multiple ant farms using air, which is called the internet. In human world, that's called internet. But because ants are so primitive, they do not possess the tools to even consider, measure, or do anything to suggest that it's even remotely possible. That's because the tools are very limited to their development. Does that make sense? Right? So I was like, okay, so how can I poke? So I poked into this by saying, okay, when you say, because he's gonna say he's gonna say logic, right? He's gonna say, okay, there's no logical reason to believe in God because there is no proof of it. And I wanted to go the route of saying, okay, so how do you prove something? And that's when he started cutting me off, basically, because we never got to that stage. Because he's basically saying like this. There is no rational reason for humans to believe in God, right? That's what he said. And I replied, using your primitive tools, yes. Right? What I was going to, my follow-up to that was, but that doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. Does that make sense? I don't know, but you see, I never got to this stage. That doesn't mean that God does not exist. So you see, I never got to this stage because he just kept. I understand why he has the mute button. I used to think that the mute button is there to mute silly things that people say, but it's there when you. I would recommend you call him and get a feel for the type of person that you're speaking to. Basically, he needs the mute button because if you corner him into a logical, subjective, that's what I'm saying, is that, you see, if his cognitive dissonance is gonna trigger, he's going to start twisting. But listen to the call. Let's break it down, okay? Like, word by word, let's break it down. But you get my logic, right? Fundamentally, what I'm saying is, the concept of God is Schrodinger cat, right? It can be alive or it can be dead. But if we don't have tools to open the box, in fact even do anything with the box, we can assume that it's alive or dead, and both are correct, right? There is no reason to say why it's alive or why it's dead, right? And there is really no reason to say why it's alive. So you could say both of them would be correct, right? So that's what I was trying to poke into. I was like, okay, but that doesn't mean that, but I never got to it, because he was saying, there is no reason, there is no rational reason. And I was trying to get, what is your definition of rational? And he was like, no, answer the question. I was like, what's the, because you can't, the question is silly. Do you understand? The question is silly. His question was, that was his question. There is no rational, right? So, I don't know how to explain it easier. Basically, science. The better question is like this: do humans have adequate tools to measure God, or find out if he exists or not? That's that's the correct question to ask here. And the answer is no. Humans do not possess the tools necessary to solve this puzzle. That's it. That's all there is to it. So it's not the question whether the God exists or not, it's the question whether there are tools that we have that can measure something like this. If that makes sense. Well, let me think about it. Okay. So today, there's no logical reason. Doesn't mean it's false, basically. That's what I'm saying. So, his follow-up question is gonna be, oh, like I'm talking about, like, because I heard multiple debates. He will say, oh, so there is, in fact, no reason to not to believe that fairy pixies are not real. And my answer is yes. Yeah, that's true. If you think that fairy pixies are real, by all means. By all means. So that's about it. Well, let's listen. Let's listen. 1 second.
What?
How's it going?
Right. So this is a joke call. What's the idea here?
Well, when I listen to how you speak, and like I think the flaw in your argument is you are assuming that you can use human tools to measure the God.
Right, because
Okay.
Let me just finish. My thought. Right?
No, I think I won't.
Okay. First of all, you don't get to tell us when to finish. But when you say we're assuming that you can use human tools to explore God, we're actually not assuming that.
Okay, so he said, we are not assuming human tools. Okay. We are not assuming that human tools are adequate to measure God. Okay. And then he goes on. I think, well, let's listen. Maybe I'm wrong, but let's listen.
When people say they believe in a God, we ask them what to describe the God that they believe in and why.
We ask people to describe what God they believe in and why. Okay, that's not the title. Why do you believe in God? That's not the title. You see, so that's wrong. Because he's asking, why do you believe in God? And I'm answering the question. I'm saying that I believe in God because we don't have the tools to measure, therefore he might exist. That's fundamentally what I'm saying, right? So okay, so that's on him. That's him trolling, basically. Okay, so now we need to listen to hear if this statement is correct or not. Like, I got a sense from him that he's more interested in views and conflict than actually resolving logical puzzles, if that makes sense. Okay, let's listen to, okay.
And so they're going to be giving us their methodology on what convinced them that God is real.
Okay, so he's saying they will give us their methodology that convinced them that God is real. Okay, that's a troll question. Well, that's a troll statement because I already said that humans do not possess those methodologies because they're too primitive. Yeah, so the title, so I got confused by the title, I think. Because the title says, why do you believe in God? And that's the answer. And he's saying, oh, give me the tools to measure why God is real. Oh, wait, does it say somewhere in his that that's what they're looking for? No, it doesn't say. But okay, let me see. Patreon. Yeah, you see, nowhere does it say that I have to provide them with methodology. He said we're not assuming something, but now he's assuming it, right? So that's in my opinion that's just troll on his part. Okay, so he's basically assuming that I know what the show is about and that I know that the title of the show is wrong. Because otherwise the title would say, please provide us proof and methodology, as opposed to saying, why do you believe in God? Okay, fine. Basically the confusion is the title in here, I think that's the confusion. If the title was different, okay, I can see. Okay. But I would, okay, let's keep going.
Yeah,
and so
sorry, go on.
Since you claim to be God, what tools should we humans be using to confirm that you exist, God?
Okay, so he's saying, what tools should humans use to confirm that God exists? That's actually a good question. That's where I trolled. Yeah, I think I trolled here. Hold on a sec. Because I said that you don't have tools, and he asked the question, what tools should humans use to prove that God exists? Yeah, so the only way I can answer that is to say yeah, that's a good question actually. Yeah, so that's a good one. He got me there. Yeah. What tool should humans use? Well, the only way I can respond to that is there are no tools. There are no tools. You just have to get smarter. There are no tools that you can use. I think that's the way I replied, right? Let me hear.
Well, that's the problem. You don't have the tools
Okay.
to measure
So
if I exist or not. Well, can I do a
hang on.
metaphor? Otherwise,
Hang on. Would you hang on? You answered that question. I have another question.
Uh-huh.
And that is, if humans don't have the tools, then what you're saying is that humans cannot be rationally justified in believing in a God, correct?
Yeah, you see, that's exactly what I said. Because you don't have the tools. If humans do not have the tools, they cannot rationally believe in a God. Well, that's no, because you don't have the tools. Because I think in here you need to understand the definition of rational, because I know what he's asking. He's asking, can I use science rational to justify God? And the answer is no. That's I think what I answered. Okay, so if humans do not have the tools, they cannot rationally believe in God. Well, it's like it's a weird question because it depends on your definition of rational, right? So you see, like, to answer this question, to find out what is the definition of rational. But I, in my head, implied... But you see, again, he's assuming that rational means science. To which I answer, using your tools, you do not. So my answer to that would be, yes, that is correct. Well, not really. No, I made a mistake here. I should have probably said... currently you don't have the tools. But that my answer in here should have been, currently you do not possess the tools to find out if I am, well, if God... I was going with if God is true. Anyway, find out if God is real or not. But in the future you might. Yeah, that would be the correct answer. Let's see.
True. Yeah, true.
Cool.
They
So-
can or cannot believe, but they...
You see, that's what I said. Yeah, that's because in my mind, what's happening right now is I don't like. The problem is his definition of rational falls on ability to use human tools to justify something. But if those tools are primitive, then this definition breaks down. This definition no longer applies. And based on that, you can or cannot believe, because we're back to Schrodinger cat box. If that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense. I'm making myself sense to me, but I don't know if everybody understands. Because you see, well, that's exactly what I said in here. You see, they can or cannot believe because it depends on your definition of rationale. That's what I probably said, right?
They can't prove the assumption that
they can't have a rash. They can't have a rash. Wow, yeah. It's just like you. You're like a.
You see, he keeps cutting me off and muting me because I'm trying to get to the question, which is, what is your definition of rationale? To which the reason why he wants to dodge this question is, I understand why he's dodging it, because if I ask him, what is your rationale for, what is your definition of rationale, he's gonna say, using science, and I'm gonna say, but science tools are not fit to measure God. Therefore, your definition of rationale breaks down. Therefore, you can or cannot believe in God. It's personal opinion, personal choice. But he doesn't want to have this conversation because that will be a stalemate, basically. Because it's very subjective and opinionated. You can or cannot. Because again, we're back to Schrodinger cat, which is both are true. Okay, I need to go because, alright, let's keep listening.
God that won't shut the fuck up. So you've acknowledged that humans don't have the ability to have a rational belief in a God. So, there's no point in us continuing to talk to you, right?
No, that's false. Because I didn't get to that's his definition of rationale. Do you understand? Like, he is implying that all humans think like him, therefore it's true. But I'm trying to get, you'll see me, I'm trying to get into the rational part, but he's not letting me. You'll see it in here.
Well, what's your definition of rational? Again, you see, the problem, you keep looping to the...
You see, I ask him specific question, and he's gonna just dodge it. Look.
Doesn't matter. You said...
He says the definition of rational doesn't matter. That is the central point of the whole conversation, is because I know what he's dodging. He's dodging that he's gonna say, I'm gonna ask what's rationale, he's gonna say it's using science to prove something, but I'm gonna say, okay, but science cannot measure God because the tools are primitive. And you back to Schrodinger cat, right?
You already conceded the point.
And now he's feeding his own conclusions into my mouth, basically. Well, I understand why Jordan Patterson doesn't want to debate him, because he's just... You see, his problem is this. That's fundamentally his problem. I don't know. He's a YouTuber. He's just a YouTuber. That's the problem. He wants the views and conflict his views. He's not... I thought, well... I was expecting him to be able to kind of debate a little bit, but he's more interested in other things, which is slamming people that are intellectually inferior to him.
You said that human beings can't have a rational belief in a God.
Yes, but that depends on the definition of rationale.
Well, you kind of flipped it a little bit. I was saying that you don't have the tools to justify existence of a God.
I didn't say anything at all about existence. I didn't see God. You're.
Okay, so he's saying, well, we got into argument here. Okay, so the conversation broke down, I think. So he's saying now he's saying, okay, so he's saying that I didn't say anything about existence of God. But sure, it's in the title, right? Why do you believe in God? But belief implies existence, right? Okay, I don't understand why he's asking this question. Let me just listen.
not a very good listener. I didn't say anything at all
Okay.
about existence. You said that we could not justify belief in God because we didn't have the tools. And so
Okay, so now he logically separated belief and existence into two things. Belief, existence. But why are they different? What? Okay, this conversation is starting to become weird. So he split existence and belief into two different things. So according to him, you can believe into something that doesn't exist. Well, you can, yeah, you can. But then what's it? You see, now the next question would be, okay, what do you define as belief and existence? Because based on that, you can only answer. But he won't let you. You see that? I understand why he has the mute button, because to answer his questions, you have to ask him questions because he's so weird in his questions. And then he's gonna start raging. Why are you asking him? By providing weird questions. Okay. I think I got confused in here a little bit.
So I asked you a clarifying question to get confirmation that what you were saying is that because we don't have the tools to properly explore the God issue, we cannot have a rational belief in a God.
No, that's not what I said. Hold on a second.
So if we can't properly explore the God issue, what you were saying is that because we don't have the tools to properly explore the God issue.
Yeah, that's true. Because we don't have the tools to believe in the God issue,
we cannot have a rational belief in a God.
we cannot have rational belief in a God. Again, it's the same question is like, what is your definition of rational? I think I'm gonna ask it again.
So if we can't have a rational belief in a God, you don't get to come back and say, well, you have a definition of rational. No.
No, that is false. That's where he's wrong. You see, because he went true or false again. That's the problem. Yeah, I can see why Jordan Patterson doesn't want to debate, because he always goes yes or no. That's it. Yeah. What he says was correct. If he does not allow me to understand the definition of rationale, there is no point in talking. Yeah. So he's wrong in what he's doing because he has the control of the show. So, but it's trolling. This is trolling. This is trolling. It's not debate. Then it's not a debate. It's a show of you call Dillahunty and he tells you whatever the hell he wants. It's a different show then.
You conceded that. There is just rational, and you've already conceded that point.
Again, you see, he put his own words into my mouth, which is there is just rational without defining what rational is. And he said in here that we don't make any assumptions. So he assumed that I accepted his definition of rational, which he didn't even define, which is weird. Man, that's really weird. There is just rational. Yeah, that is a very strange conversation.
So what's left?
What's left is you need to define what rational means.
Well, you're extracting rational from your ability to measure something using.
Exactly. You see, I'm trying to say, okay, what you're defining as rational is science, which is primitive. So we're back to, but he doesn't want to answer that question. You see,
Limited tools that you have. That's the problem.
No, I didn't say anything at all
he implied it.
about the ability to measure something. We talked about, you said that humans could not properly investigate, explore the God issue because we don't have the tools. That was your claim.
Correct.
And that leads to the conclusion that therefore humans can't have a rationally justified belief.
No, that is completely wrong. That is so wrong. It leads to conclusion that humans do not have the tools to do it. It doesn't mean that there is no rational reason, because the rational depends on the tools, and if the tools are not adequate, the only thing you can say correctly is that we do not possess the tools to measure God. That's it.
Belief in a God, and I asked you to confirm that, and you did. So
I did not. I did not confirm it. I confirmed based on using his limited rational definition of rational.
have I just beaten God in a debate, and God's now just whining about how it happened?
That's funny. That's funny.
No, it's just
Because you see, for me to answer questions that he's asking, I need to understand definition of rational and why is he splitting belief and existence. And he's like, no, you cannot answer that. You can only answer my questions. But his questions are subjective.
that math does not.
No. I'm
belief.
sorry, God, but
Yeah, so you see, that's what I'm saying, is that, okay, based on math system, yes. But based on everybody else, could be a different outcome.
I'm sorry, God, but you are not equipped to have this conversation. You don't get to switch.
Let me give you
say,
a metaphorical.
No, you're not going to give me any.
Yeah, you see, he's dodging. Because he can't answer what is definition of rational. That's the
Anything, I'm going to mute you and you're going to listen to me, because it's very rare that I get God on the line here. Once you acknowledge that humans can't have a rational justification for believing in God,
using limited tools. You see, he keeps dodging this core point.
you don't then get to try to spin it as if it's my rationality.
You see, I get to spin it because that's the core. The core in here is what's the definition of rational.
Or that Matt doesn't have a reason.
That's true.
Now, so I'll ask you again, God, since that's what you claim to be, how can you demonstrate to a human like me that you are, in fact, God? How can you demonstrate that?
Well, the only way I can answer that is using your limited tools. I cannot.
Using your tools, impossible, because they're too
Okay.
limited.
Cool. Goodbye.
He said it's a debate.
Yeah, this was stupid. It's like you called to say, I do not have the tools to build a house.
Yeah, that's true, right? That's true. But here's the second part where that tilted me. Listen to what he says secondary.
Or humanity doesn't have the tools to build houses.
Okay, let's assume what he says is correct. Humans don't have the house to build tools, right? And then he says...
But some of humanity will still build houses anyway. And that
And then some of the humanity will build houses anyway. No, I said that humans do not have the tools to build houses, but that doesn't mean building houses is impossible. today. That's my argument. That's my argument.
That's
no,
stupid.
no,
Yes,
that's
yes,
not what I
that is.
said.
That is.
No,
You said we
that's
don't
not
have
what
the
I said.
tools.
Jim,
Houses
that is
can be built.
completely
I don't.
wrong.
I don't give
No,
a.
it's not.
I don't give a fuck. I'm already bored with you. I thought this
Yeah, you see, no, they need to get this control of, because they get to say whatever the hell they want.
thing was stupid and boring. You said we don't have the tools to do it, but
That's definition. Well, okay, yeah, we don't have the tools to do it, but that doesn't mean that you can't build houses.
you are here to defend that some people somehow do it anyway. If we don't have the tools to.
No. What I'm saying is that we currently do not have the tools to do it, but that doesn't mean that in the future you might not be able to do it. But current tools are too primitive. That was my argument.
Investigate a god. You can't build a god belief. Goodbye.
Okay, let's listen to what he's going to conclude.
That was dumb. That was just a stupid call.
Yeah. So
Go on.
I can't prove when anybody's using a real name or not. And so if you call in and you say your name's God and that you're from omniscience, which is literally what it said God, omniscient.
Yeah,
And then in the first few seconds of any discussion, you acknowledge that my position, which is I have no foundation on which anybody could have a rationally justified belief in God. If you justify that that is correct.
Assume your definition of rationale is science.
I'm sorry, but of all the gods I've heard of, you're definitely the weakest at arguing, but I will give you points for showing up because none of the, it's actually a quote from Doctor Who. Of course you knew it wasn't a god. What do all gods have in common? They never show up.
What?
There's your Doctor Who quote. Or
I don't know. Okay. Anyway. Okay, let me just think about it. Alright. What Jimmy said was silly. But what... I think I wasn't specific enough. I should have said probably currently. Yeah. Should I call back and be like, yeah, round 2. But yeah, okay, I get it. But good experience. Take care, bye-bye.